Welcome to Sweet Tea Channeling. I'm Debbie Pokornik, and with me is my dear friend, co host, and our gifted channeler, Susan Hoskins. If you are new to these calls, we are thrilled to have you join us and want you to know your timing is perfect. However, if you find you need more background about what we are doing on these calls, you might want to go back to June of 2023 and listen to the introduction from one of those episodes where we outline more of the details. In a nutshell, we are creating Hoomadhi together, a reality filled with compassion, understanding, and delight. By receiving channel guidance and then playing with how we might bring that information into being, right here where we live, right now. We have already opened sacred space for all of us, but we ask that you take a moment before starting to center, ground yourself, and call in your guides to help you pick out the most relevant pieces from this episode for you right now. All right. Well, it seems to me like there is an awful lot of difficult energies, difficult things coming up for an awful lot of people right now.
Yeah,
So I was thinking, what if we specifically ask today if there's maybe a channeling that can help us with that? What do you think?
I would love that. I would love that.
Okay. When we're dealing with a difficult situation in our life, how do we most easily connect heart to heart with those who we are relying on for help? And maybe they're not necessarily living in Humadi, so that we can not only get through the situation, but achieve the greatest good.
We love that question because it is so important right now for all of you. By that, we mean that situations and challenges do arise every single day for you to move through with as much grace and ease as possible. And some are more difficult than others. So, what we would first like you to know is that in any situation you're in, there are always people there and spirit guides, of course, to help you through that. Because there are many people alive right now who have open hearts as you do, who are pieces of you that you can look into and see wonderful aspects of your own self. And in so doing, when you open your heart and you look in your eyes and you stop for a moment to simply appreciate this other person, let's say, and to connect heart to heart, to see those aspects that you share in common. And we don't mean on the physical level necessarily. We're not talking about shared belief systems or any of that other stuff. We're talking about the heart connections where you can see aspects of yourself in another if you simply pause long enough without judgment to simply connect. And we're showing Susan the image of someone that she connected with over the weekend. And it is important for her to have this visual as she remembers what it felt like to connect with his eyes and to open her heart to appreciate what his life experience may be in the moment. And in so doing, with just simple kindness, non-judgment, understanding what another might be going through, perhaps. You're looking for what you have in common, not only your shared divinity, but your shared humanity. And when you can actually even feel and see like a golden thread running for your heart, from your heart to theirs, you can feel almost the energy pulsing back of appreciation and understanding. Because who among us, who among you do not want to be loved, accepted, understood, valued, and even heard for who they are and their own struggles. So by doing this, you understand that everybody is going through their own situations for growth and evolution. And some you won't be aware of, particularly when you're in situations where you are needing someone's help and you don't know this person and you wonder if you can trust this person. Just pause. Just pause. Surround yourself in them in shared light. Feel this heart connection and just allow yourself in that moment to connect on a human level as well as a spiritual one with just compassion and understanding. And you will be totally surprised with the reaction back to you. Because as you see yourself in another human being, so they are allowed to see themselves or what they're needing through you. It's really quite a lovely thing to experience.
So would it be safe to say that anybody who is embracing what you just said, that they're naturally going to attract people who have done more preparation work, I guess, to be in that loving space back? Is that a fair assumption?
What we'd like you to focus on is the goodness inherent in everyone. Because yes, of course, with those you attract into your space, and it is perfectly fine to always ask for those to come into this situation and space who resonate most closely with you in a Hoomadhi space, a heart-connected, heart-centered space. That makes perfect sense. But there are situations where you are required, if you will, to have interactions with people who may be so fearful, who may be so locked into what they know versus who they are, what they are, how spectacular they are, that they are hesitant to go to a heart space because they've been living in their mind space for so long. It's how they've survived and protected themselves, shielded themselves from connection. However, most everyone you will attract into your space in these difficult situations have a heart flame burning inside and a deep desire to just be accepted for who they are on a heart level, not for their expertise necessarily or what they know or who they are or anything else about them. Most people, most humans have a deep desire just to be understood, heard, and accepted for who they are. And those that seem to convey an air of, oh, I am perfectly fine and perfect, and I know what I'm doing, and I never make a mistake, for example, are the very ones who need the heart connection most, because that's what they're afraid of, is that when all that is stripped away, no one will love them. So what we would say is, yes, that's a twofold question. Always take a moment when you're in any kind of a situation to be centered yourself and to ask not only for guidance, because you know we are always here to help you walk through any situation, but also ask for the people that can most easily resonate with you, and ask yourself to please, knowing you're fully protected always, open your hearts up to those that do not seem to fit this criteria, just for an instant to connect heart to heart. And in so doing, watch how they soften as they feel that connection without you needing to say a word. Does that help?
Absolutely. It almost feels like a higher level empathy.
We love what you're saying. It is a higher level of empathy and compassion, because remember, every soul has chosen their life experience not necessarily to achieve great things, although that often is wonderful, but really just to learn more about themselves and experience greater and greater levels of love, compassion, and the empathy of which you speak. So, yes, it is a higher level of just love and oneness, that all of us are one, and every person that you deal with or encounter really is showing you just a different aspect, perhaps, of yourself. In other words, what we would say when someone comes across as less than kind, what can you see within you as you reflect upon it about where they're vulnerable? Why would you act this way if you were in a situation, if that makes sense? And in so doing, when you see aspects of yourself or hurts from your past life where you felt the need to behave in a way that would not have you be seen as vulnerable, then you can better understand that piece of yourself and feel more compassion for the actions of another. For at the core, all of us are the same pure divine essence of the one.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Is there anything else I can help with?
That feels like a beautiful amount of love for us to bounce around in today.
Well, we are complete then, and we love you dearly. We bow in your presence as we recognize your love and light and those of everyone around you. And so, with this, we shall let it be so. And so it is. I loved that they were showing me the eyes of a wonderful man, a nurse that we connected with over the weekend when my husband was going through a very serious medical issue. And it was beautiful because, without going into the story, I was able in the moment when I met this particular nurse, at first I felt rather off-putted by his behavior. And then I got that nudge that I love what you brought up about greater levels of empathy. I was getting a nudge about compassion. And so I remember what happened when I just looked at him and began just speaking in a very kind voice, as I was asking important questions. And I could feel him respond. And so then it caused me to want to do more. And then he responded more. Anyway, it made a very long, arduous day beautiful because of this back and forth compassion fest we had with one another, which those words weren't spoken. It was just a heart connection we felt. And I suddenly understood where this poor man was coming from, because he was so overworked and trying to give such meticulous care to his patients, including my husband. And everything he did made the day totally bearable. And he was taking on the problems of the world by apologizing for what was not going well. And it was like, but you don't understand. You just made everything right. So I loved in the channeling, all they did was just, they were showing me his eyes as the message was coming through. And that was really quite remarkable. So I
Mm.
love that.
Eyes are the window to the soul.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the window into that same spark of the divine essence of all of us,
Mhm.
and that shared humanity, where truly we do just want to be loved and accepted and valued, all of us.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, yeah.
I have had this experience now so many times where I'm in a situation that I don't necessarily want to be in. The person that I'm dealing with does feel grouchy or like they want nothing to do with me. And it would be so easy to either get snappy with them, knowing that, I'm the customer or the client or whatever, and I'm supposed to be always right. That's what I've been told. And really recognizing in that moment that, okay, I'm gonna dig deep here and see what I can do to help relate to them. And I wasn't consciously doing this, especially back at the beginning. I thought I was practicing my assertiveness skills way back when
Mm.
I was at the bank and put in charge of customer complaints. But in truth, I was doing this. I was trying to figure out, how do I connect heart to
Yeah.
heart with that person so that I can help bring out the best in them. And honestly, there are not any situations that I can even recall. That doesn't mean there aren't any, but that I can recall where I didn't in some way end up with that person softening and maybe smiling
Mm.
at me, or maybe doing something just a little bit extra to help me, sometimes a whole lot extra. And so I love that message, because talk about making the world a better place,
Yeah.
one person at a time, rather than making their day that much worse.
Well, thank you for bringing up what you just shared, because it clicked within me that, my role for many, many years has been to be an advocate for a loved one having a medical issue. And I can remember years ago that I thought I had to put on my boxing gloves to spar with the medical people, to get them to pay attention, listen to me. And you know what happened? It was the sparring. It never accomplished, now looking back, really what I wanted or needed, or at least not in an easy way. And this situation, and others I've had in the same kind of situation, when I can just soften and connect with humanity and compassion with this individual, oh my gosh, we got the greatest care possible in this situation.
Mhm.
And that made all the difference in the world. And I wasn't the least bit angry with anybody. It was just being immersed in what's the greatest good for all of
Yes.
us right now. Yeah.
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 It's kind of funny, because if you pictured like a game board, right? And in that game board, someone has turned over the card that said, this is the situation that you're all going to be dealing with. So you've all kind of been placed in this situation. And the system around you could be completely broken and not supporting you, and all these different things going on. But if everybody focused on being understanding, on finding the compassion, on connecting heart to heart, sending out that gold cord from their heart to the other's hearts, and so on, what a difference it would feel. And then the whole
Mhm.
game changes, right, into something beautiful, because it
It
doesn't
really
matter what the
does.
situation is when we can all join together and
Yeah.
really support one another.
Yeah, because at the core of it, most people want the best for everybody, for themselves and everyone else. And this experience for me proved that, because at the end of the day, when we left the hospital, it didn't matter that we didn't have all the medical answers required. What mattered was the experience we'd had with this beautiful nurse all day, connecting. And that was more important than anything else. We'll get the answers. But
Yes.
I just am so emboldened to know that we can walk into any situation, pause, ask for the best connected people with us. There's nothing wrong with that. And then know that just by opening our heart with anyone we have to deal with,
Mhm.
it changes everything.
It really does. What if the end piece of that game actually said, your problem will not be resolved?
Mhm.
And if you
Mhm.
knew that going in, okay, so my problem isn't going to be resolved no matter what, then you probably would treat people a little bit differently, because you would know they can't get the answer. It said right there in the
Yeah.
rules, there
Yeah.
is not going to be an answer on this day.
Yeah.
And so it really does change who we
Yeah.
are, or at least who we're being in that moment.
And
Yeah.
even if you do get the answer, it may not be the one you want to hear.
Well, or it might be what you want to hear, but it might not be the right answer.
Exactly. So what
Yeah.
you really do want is ultimately just the greatest good. And that's what I know
Yes.
from working with our beloved guides, that that's why they're with us, to help us achieve the greatest good for ourselves and others in any situation.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
So maybe the silver lining is really the gold connection.
Ooh, we got silver, we've got gold, we're
Gold.
heading for platinum.
Yeah, let's get some diamonds along the way sparkled in. I'm happy.
Yeah. Ready to join us live on these calls? Send us an email at info.hoomadhi, that's HOOMADHI @gmail.com. We'd love to have you play with us.